Hello, everybody, and welcome to the world premiere of Outinerary on the PromoHomo.TV network. I'm your host, Nicholas Snow. So, Outinerary, and I just couldn't believe that that name was available when I decided to come up with a specific name for my travel show. But Outinerary spotlights out in this world travel. So, much of the world offers tourism where members of the LGBTQ plus community may be themselves, while in other places we may be at risk. In addition, virtually everyone loves to travel, and this program lets us know where we can have out of this world experiences while being out in this world. If you're involved in the LGBTQI plus travel experience in any way, shape, or form, or if you're a travel expert, please connect with me at PromoHomo.TV. There is a way for you to connect to the show. And to provide insights for our upcoming guests. I have an amazing panel for you today. Coming up on the show, I have longtime colleagues Matt Skallerud and Fabrice Tasendo, President and Vice President, respectively, of Pink Media, Vincent Jones of Citizenjonestravel and the Queerantine and Chill podcast, Ivan Quintanilla, who's a travel writer and content creator, and Gustavo Rivas-Solis of ENroute Communications, and I will be back with my spectacular panel after this. Without further delay, I'm going to bring two of you on first because you have been my buddies in media and activism for so long. Welcome, Matt and Fabrice.
Why, thank you. It's great to be here with you.
Hi, Nicholas. So good to see you.
Oh my goodness! You know, we started our collaboration like 25 years ago.
We did.
Shall I sing? Guess what, my dear? I'm the Tinseltown queer.
Yeah, that is the theme from my public access TV show, Tinseltown Queer, which I produced for most of the 1990s. Matt and Fabrice were founders of GayWired.com, which was hailed as the best garage startup by the New York Times. You know, if I didn't have the two of you on the premiere of this show, it would be a glaring omission. That is an inside joke.
Nicholas is referring to pitching the Wall Street Journal that they really should include us in their article, because if they did not, it would be a glaring omission. And he was absolutely right.
Well, I was working full time for Gay Wired at the time, and we were sharing a guest house office behind your home in West Hollywood. And one of my functions was to do PR, and an article had come out in the Wall Street Journal about significant LGBT-focused websites, and Gay Wired was around as long as any of them, and in some ways was performing better than them. So I ended up calling up the magazine and the newspaper, and I said, you know, to not mention Gay Wired was a glaring omission. And when I got off the phone, I realized everyone in the office was just glued to me in that conversation.
We were.
In honor of our long time work together, I have a surprise for you. Here it is. Do you see that?
Yep.
I didn't live
So
in that
that's
year,
when
but it's much darker.
that's when we were all babies, and Wayne Fredericks Castro took the photo, and Janet Silva did our makeup. And by the way, she says hello. She sends her love to all of you. I let her know you were going to be my guest today. So with
Give us
that,
our
I want
love
to bring
too.
on the rest of our panel. With me, I have Vincent, Ivan, and Gustavo. So this is going to be an informal conversation, and I want us to have the opportunity to first address travel in a post-pandemic world. And in a way, that title for this show is a misnomer because we're not in a post-pandemic world. The pandemic is still alive and real and happening. I also wanted to mention that I have the ability to put comments into the broadcast, and we have a viewer that remembers the Tinseltown Queer theme song. So thank you for that. So Matt, let's start with you. What are your observations on this new world that we're living in? And by the way, all of your mics are live. So if any of you want to interrupt and chime in at a certain point, you're welcome to, but I'll come to everyone.
Yeah, no, I mean, I won't say I'm an expert in any of this stuff. It's just I think I'm seeing what we're all seeing, which is we are definitely going through a second wave, a second curve of this pandemic. And in that train of thought, it's just going to be a while. And for some reason the sound seems to be weird. But
Your
anyway,
sound here sounds great.
okay, sorry. So anyway, what we're dealing with here, though, is that I think that it's going to be a while before people are flying around. Whether internationally, we can't go to Europe and so forth. There's a lot of restrictions. So I think it's going to be much more the drive-through markets. And so people are looking at, we got to get out. People are kind of stir crazy. So they're going to be going to places that they could drive to, whether it's hiking, remote areas, or just wherever other parts of the state where things have opened up a bit more.
Okay. Who wants to chime in next on this particular topic? Any of you have some dying?
I have some
It's
thoughts.
just
All right, let's go with Fabrice next.
Well, I think this is a good time for all destinations to sort of prepare on what's going to happen post-pandemic. So I think it's a good time to prepare your marketing campaigns, prepare to focus on what's going to be why your destination is still relevant. So now it's a good time for people to do that. Also, when Matthew was mentioning hiking and drive-through, I also want to stress the fact we have a lot of friends that hike here in Los Angeles. And there's some hikes that actually have some bottlenecks with a lot of people hiking. So hiking is awesome. Just be conscious of that and always try to be careful.
You still need to wear your mask even when you're hiking.
Right.
Vincent, you have something you would like to add to travel in the
Sure.
post-pandemic world?
Sure, Matt. I think that it really depends upon what kind of traveler you are. I think if you're a luxury traveler, there are a lot of options available to you, and people are doing things like renting private planes to go to Mexico, renting villas and like big houses to be able to camp out, even like renting boats and to sail around. I have one friend and client who lives in New York, a house in Florida, Florida of all places, to kind of camp out at for the next month. And he sent me every day a different picture from the pool, a different view of him enjoying the pool. So I think people are just getting very creative, but depending upon what kind of traveler you are, that will impact the options you have available to you.
I forgot to reserve the yacht for the weekend. I'm just so disappointed in myself. But I can go anywhere in the world that I want with my green screen. Gustavo, what would you like to add to the topic of traveling in a pandemic and post-pandemic world?
I think it's really like a time to reset, a time to do a lot of staycations. It's a very confusing time for consumers, I think. We see destinations like in Mexico that are opening, but they're not opening. They're not still in the same phase. You see the symptoms of the Caribbean. It's a very iffy time to plan travel. I think it's more of a time to reset, rethink campaigns, and hopefully end of the year or beginning of the year we can look at actual travel.
Good point. Ivan, last but certainly not least.
Well, first of all, Nicholas, I'm going to send you my private yacht to pick you up, so you're going to be well taken care of.
Is it it's a amphibious yacht if you're sending it
Sure,
to Palm Springs?
sure, absolutely. Uh, I mean, I think definitely everything that everyone else has said, I agree with, and I think it's just a time that we all have to be really flexible and be a little creative and actually keep up with the destinations and the places that we want to go to because the information is changing so fast.
Mm-hmm.
So where somebody might have planned a trip a month ago, everything has changed now. The ban on Americans in Europe, that has changed things. This new spike has changed things, and I think things will just continue to change throughout the rest of the year. So I just think it's really important, especially for consumers, to keep track of where they're going and to stay informed and to be flexible with their plans because chances are it's going to change.
Okay, so while I have you all here, I also wanted to explore in today's program the the reason, the need, and the evolution of LGBTQ focused travel. Because the world has changed a lot, but there's still places that we can go in the world that are dangerous for us. There are places that are very welcoming, and it's important for us to all be able to navigate it. So let me start with you. I don't really like this. I prefer this layout. I like that layout. So let's start with you, Matt, because you're the common denominator in today's show that helped me invite all of these guests. And you are also a common denominator in bringing travelers to destinations. So why don't you speak about your service to the niche and the need for this type of niche?
Yeah, I mean, everything we do is just trying to help companies, whether it's hotels, destinations, and so forth, to get the word out. So rather than necessarily booking travel in any way, shape, or form, we're always helping others to be able to find their consumer and book travel. And things are, you do have to be cognizant of where you go. There's a lot of discussions, especially the discussion changes whether you're male, female, or transgender when it comes to destinations, and that factors in safety, comfort, and just even interests that are there. I think one of the organizations that probably encapsulates all this best is IGLTA, the International Gay and Lesbian Travel Association. They really kind of keep themselves current and at the forefront of always making sure that sort of information of what is safe, what is hot, where what areas and destinations are the best ones for us to go to right now. And a lot of business and consumers make their decisions based on that.
And I'm distributing, I'm going to bring in Fabrice for this one. I'm distributing this show in partnership with hashtag ILoveGay. Fabrice, why don't you speak about the significance of the I Love Gay and related hashtag campaigns? And by the way, thank you for your ongoing collaboration once again at this level.
Well, the so a few years ago, Matt and I created this network on Twitter called I Love Gay, and basically it's a way to sort of to categorize the content, the gay content that's out there on Twitter, with different handles and different hashtags. For example, we would have I Love Gay Travel, which is ironically the handle is I Love LGBT Travel, or I Love Gay LA, or I Love Gay Palm Springs. And it sort of helps people in different locale with different interests to pick what type of content they want to follow, and become part of that conversation.
So back to my earlier question, Fabrice, why do you think that there is such an important need for LGBTQI plus niche travel? And anything
I
else you'd
think
like to add?
No, on that specifically, I think we, as gay people, we need to know that we're going into a safe space, and if it's not a safe space, we need to be aware that we're going into an area that has a list of "don't hold hands in this area," or homosexuality is illegal in this part of town, or not in this part of town, in this country. So that's why having the information and the knowledge about the destinations you have is really important. So that's why I think gay travel is important. What's interesting is also destinations have discovered that they've known for a while now that LGBTQ traveler have additional income to spend and travel more than their straight counterpart, a lot more. They will also travel to riskier places because I think as a gay person, you are raised, we of an older generation were raised to hide who we are until society sort of caught up with being okay with us. So we're used to trying to hide who we are if we have to. Yeah.
Well stated. I want to bring Vincent into the broadcast. Vincent, tell us a little bit more about your connection to travel, the various Citizen Jones travel company brands, and your feelings about the importance of the work that this panel does.
Well, I love traveling, and I can't wait to get on a plane again and to go somewhere and get my passport stamped. And I think, what Fabrice was saying about gay travelers is like really spot on. We are more adventurous. I think many of us don't have families, or we have a chosen family, but we don't have children or a partner. So our friends are often our family. So we'll travel with our friends to be able to have these amazing moments. And we also have, we tend to have, many of us will have more disposable income for that reason as well. So I think and we tend to be more like sociable and outgoing. So I think that's why it's definitely important for the sector. With Citizenjonestravel, my goal is to build a community of diverse travelers. My clients are mostly gay guys and single women. Many women and gay folks tend to have some similar issues with traveling, like safety is a big concern. But also, I find that gay guys and women tend to hang out a lot back at home, and so it really kind of creates when there are groups that I put together. Basically, I decide where I want to go, make it fabulous, and my people come along. And when they're like the mixture of people together makes it a really fun and interesting experience. And then for when there are people are going with this, like their birthday groups or other celebrations, people, that's the new thing. It's like it's not just going out to the bar to celebrate your birthday. People want to go out to Mykonos or Puerto Vallarta or Provincetown or Buenos Aires or what have you to be able to celebrate these moments in their lives and make those memories that last a lifetime.
Thank you so much for that. I just want to remind our viewers that this is Outinerary celebrating out in this world travel. And this is the premiere, and I'm opening up this show to showcase LGBTQI plus travel opportunities around the world, to explore the world with all of you. And someone that does that well is Ivan Quintanilla. Ivan, talk about your connection to travel and why you feel the work that you do as a journalist and content creator is vital.
Sure. So I work as a travel writer, as you mentioned, and I think specifically when we talk about gay travel, I do cover all areas of travel, but gay travel and LGBTQ travel is definitely one of the areas that I focus on. But I think gay travel is so important for so many reasons, and one of those, as others have said, is that it takes us sometimes a little bit longer, and the sense of community that we have with our friends, that we are in our chosen families. And I think there's a comfort level at being in gay friendly places that is different. I will happily stay at any hotel, but there is a certain special experience that you have when you're staying at a specifically gay hotel, or when you're visiting a city or a destination that's specifically gay friendly. And it feels differently. And I think the experience of travel is different as a gay person, when you're specifically targeting a gay destination or a gay friendly destination.
Well stated. Well stated. Gustavo, last but not least, tell me about your connection to the world of travel and, again, why you think that this is important work.
So we focus on travel PR and marketing, and the LGBT market is an extremely important part of our campaigns. The reality most often is that the LGBTQ market is more willing to travel, even in situations such as the pandemic or even wars or not so safe destinations. So we're seeing a lot of surveys coming out stating that the LGBT market will be the first ones to travel after the pandemic. So we're definitely implementing a lot more campaigns on that market. And I think we'll see very similar to after the N1 H1, what will happen with the LGBT market, that it will be the first one to travel to destinations.
Well, I'm coming to you from Palm Springs, California, which all of you know is one of the best LGBTQ destinations in the world and celebrated for that. And just to talk a bit about my own experience to travel, I was doing travel journalism a lot with Matt and Fabrice in the 90s, and I ended up in the early 2000s, 2004 actually, getting invited to Thailand as an entertainment reporter with notes from Hollywood to cover the Bangkok International Film Festival. And after going there for 3 years, I based myself in Thailand for 5.5 years. And a lot of what I was doing while being a foreign correspondent was reporting about travel and entertainment. So that was a very exciting time for me. While I have all of you on screen, and you can raise your hand if you want to respond to my next question. Actually, I want to come to you by show of hands, all of you, to respond to this. What point would you like to make around the world of LGBT travel that you don't think we've made yet in the show today? Who wants to go first? I'm going to go to Vincent first.
But one thing I will say, at least in the U.S. And maybe in some other international destinations that are really popular with gay travelers, I think we're in a moment, and we have been in a moment for a while, where we need to revisit what does gay community mean. Like say in the U.S., you have places like Palm Springs or Fire Island or Russian River or Provincetown or Key West or what have you, which were really created by and for white gay men. But as the community has embraced its diversity and embraced the full spectrum of what it means to be queer, then we have to really ask ourselves: Are those places still meeting the need for the community today? I think it's more. It's not. It could be perceived as a critique of an experience that has been meaningful for many decades, but it should be seen as an opportunity to make that experience even more valuable for those who have gone for decades and for those who can breathe new life into those places. It's a great opportunity for business, but it's definitely a great opportunity to make sure that we are staying relevant. And I think Provincetown has probably done the best of that, at least in the U.S. Like their Bear Week and their Family Week and Lesbian Week and this week and that week and that week. So it brings a wide variety of people to Provincetown, but it still does in a way where people can feel like their community is there. They don't feel too isolated. But there's some other places where that's not the case. I think that's one thing I think we need to think about more in our community and in this industry.
Vincent, I want to proceed with this particular part of the conversation a little bit. I've been doing a deep dive into my own connection with systemic racism.
Mm.
I've been studying more about microaggressions. I've been paying attention to what black leaders are saying and working to amplify their voices. And when appropriate, I'm trying to create a platform for this conversation myself. Even though I'm hosting the platform, my goal is to listen.
Mm.
I had not seen the movie Green Book until recently.
Mm.
And the Green Book was basically to help black people travel safely in the South. And recently I was listening to an online private webinar, and one of the black lesbian panelists on the panel was specifically talking about the invisibility of black people in the way that tourism is promoted.
Oh, yeah.
So I'm really grateful to you for bringing up this particular topic, and I was wondering if you'd like to say any more about it.
Well, say just kind of going off of the last point you made about the invisibility. I know when I go on site inspections, as a travel advisor, I get invited to many hotels and trips to be able to see a place, see a property. I always ask the question, well, how come there's no diversity in your advertising? Similarly, I'll ask, when they show the bridal suite and the groom's room, I always say, well, what if you have two grooms, or what if you have two brides? So like there are questions that I think they're uncomfortable to ask, and there are always other advisors who are in the group who are also from similar backgrounds, and they are thinking the same thing, but they're afraid to ask the question. But this queen is not afraid to ask those questions, and we need to ask it more. But in the gay world, it is very difficult. It's very infrequent that you really see non-white guys who you almost always see white guys who are buff and like beautiful by the certain standards, who are used as the image to sell a certain place, and it's difficult to change that. Because on the one hand, the white gay population are a huge chunk of the market, but on the other hand, if people don't see themselves in the advertisement, then it feels like it's not for you, and so we have to find a middle ground to be able to challenge that norm.
Well, another key point to make about this is that travel is a privilege, and there are people
Yeah.
that are barely getting by, and travel is a far off fantasy, and many people will never take a vacation in their lives. So in the light fluffiness of travel, we need to always take a deep dive into the broader issues of equality and accessibility and privilege across the board. So thank you for that perspective. Anybody else, by show of hands, want to go next about what you want to add to the program? I'm going to go to you, Fabrice.
Well, I just want to say, I work on what Vincent was saying. Also, I think it's important for everybody to raise their voice at every occasion. I'm going to use a specific example. Atlantis Events, Atlantis Cruises, has fairly okay diversity, but I have a group of Black friends that did not see themselves reflected enough in advertising, or were not sure that many Black people were attending specific cruises, and took it upon themselves of creating groups on Facebook using social media, saying, hey, this is the Black crew that's going to be on this ship or that ship, and sort of took the effort upon themselves of uniting that group. And I thought that was really interesting. And sure enough, for the next marketing of the next cruise, there were photos of Black people at Atlantis, which is then important, as Vincent was saying, because other Black people will see themselves in the advertising and go, oh, there's Black guys going to those cruises as well. I want to go. I want to be part of it.
Fabrice, I think that you should share why you personally have a greater awareness about why Black lives matter. There's a big reason in your life where you would be more aware of that issue.
There is. And Vincent Jones is part of it. I want to give props to Vincent Jones. I'm not answering your question on purpose. I want to give props to Vincent Jones because in 2008, as we were fighting to make sure that Prop 8 would not pass in California, he was the first one to ring the alarm and call us. I was working at the Advocate at the time, and say, we are not making outreach to the Black community. We need to make sure Black people vote with gay people. So that would be one of the reasons. I've always have a very diverse crowd of friends, but 13 years ago, I ended up meeting my now husband, who I married 6 years ago, Eric, and Eric is African American. So now, in effect, half my family is African American.
I thought you weren't going to answer, and I'm glad you did. And I thought, well, then maybe there's some reason he's not. But yeah, and I saw you talking to Eric off camera, so please give him my love. I'm assuming that that's who you were talking to.
Well, that was him, yes.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to bring back in our other guest here. So, who would like to go next regarding adding something that you feel should be an important part of the program today?
I think
Gustavo.
it's still very important to educate clients about the importance of the LGBT market in general. I feel like there's a lot of destinations that are still trying to figure their way around. So it's definitely something that we need to take our time to educate. Uh, Especially, as Vincent was saying, when you go on site visits or press trips or etc., it's really important to be able to position the LGBTQ brand and segment, so that the clients know how important and have a visual of the market.
Very well stated. Matt, would you like to chime in with an important
Yeah,
missing
I would.
point?
I was thinking of two, actually. One is less of a missing point and more of just expanding upon what Fabrice was talking about, um, user-generated content. And so what happens is that we get so focused on Atlantis and what they're putting out in ads, and I think it's important that the world's really been shifting where we're paying much more attention to what our friends are posting and sharing, whether that's Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. And so the power of user-generated content to really depict the true diversity of events and cruises and so forth, I think is going to be more and more important as the years go on. And so, but as the years go on, which is what we're looking at now, that's where the only other thing I would add is that I think we all have to start to realize, especially with the direction that the pandemic is going right now, that this pause is going to be a bit longer than I think most people had wanted. We all wanted it to just be a quick pause, and we're roaring back into the way things were this summer. But in lieu of that, the question then just really becomes: I think we all have to start just thinking a little bit more long term about how we're going to do things differently, because it's going to be a while before. In fact, it may never really go back to the way it was. But there's going to be travel. There's going to be components of everything that we knew. But what is that going to look like and when? And I think we just have to really be cognizant of that and always be thinking about those pieces for our next steps.
What is life going to look like and when? That's definitely the question on all of our minds. Ivan, I want to go to you for just another opportunity because you didn't have a specific chime in for the important information, but I'd love to just hear what's on your mind.
Sure. Well, like everyone said, I think the LGBT community is changing, and like Vincent said, for many decades it was geared toward gay white men in a way. And I think as our community has kind of expanded and the understanding of our community has expanded, what an LGBTQ vacation is also changing, and it's also expanding. And part of that also has to do with generations. Younger generations, kids don't care as much about the person's specific identity, or they want to just go with their friends. So that's something else. Another trend that I think our LGBTQ travel is changing in a way, and it's becoming hopefully a little more inclusive of even our straight allies and places that everybody can kind of happen and vacation together.
Thank you all for appearing on the show. I just want to say to our viewers that I create a lot of content about lesbians, and it's wasn't intentional. We don't have women on our show today, so I just want you to know that this platform is for you as well, and put that out there. I just want to share with all of you my enthusiasm about being able to connect more personally to the world of travel again. And I'm honored that you've taken the time to be on the premiere of Outinerary. And so, by show of hands, how many of you like the name of the show?
Oh my
Outinerary.
God, it's extended.
And are all of you as surprised as I am that decades into the world of LGBTQ travel that was actually available?
Absolutely.
I was stunned. I was stunned. I want to thank you all for being on the show today. I think we were successfully live on Facebook. I still don't know that, but if we weren't, I'll make sure this broadcast gets onto that platform as well. And please feel free to reach out to me at any time for any reason if I can be of service with my media platform.
All right.
Thank you, Nicholas.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day, everybody. Thanks again for being here, and I'll see you next time. For all of you watching, it's been my honor and privilege to bring you the world premiere of Outinerary. And for my guest, if you want to stay where you are for some post-show chat, we'll do that in a minute. And thank you all for watching.